Do you know of the legendary players in 2K history that were never all-stars, superstars, or any even like decently good players, and yet for whatever reason they were amazing in 2K? The one that everybody knows is Gerald Green. Gerald Green for the longest time was known as a player that was always like a 75 overall, but could hit the dumbest shots and can dunk on anybody. I've jumped over people with Gerald Green, and I literally barely started playing the game at the time. Gerald Green is known as being the best player who was not a great player ever. But what about today? There's a bunch of NBA players that have a lot of skills, but just don't, succeed in the NBA. I want to see who are the best players in NBA 2K22 who aren't necessarily the best players in real life. ¿Qué pasa to the pack? It's Pack here. Before the video starts, if you like this kind of content, please be an OG, join the pack and subscribe, and leave a like on the video because it helps the channel grow. So let's think for a second before we even get started. What goes into a good but bad player? This is my theory, right? If a player has good attributes in the important stuff, for example, good attributes in shooting, good attributes in dunking, they're a fun player. If they have badges that are made to be fun, like posterizer, lob city finisher, catch and shoot, this is a good player. What about a player that has really clean animations, but they're not necessarily good? This is a good, fun 2K player. Just because you have a 75 or whatever rating, it doesn't mean you're not going to be fun in 2K. And that's the point. There's a couple players in the NBA that do not count, because I asked this question on Twitter and all of you said D'Angelo Russell. I'm all for slander for players sometimes, but D'Angelo Russell's an 82 overall. That's not garbage. Not only that, he's the third best player on a pretty damn good NBA team. So I can't sit here and say D'Angelo Russell's bad because he's not. So he doesn't count. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna do that. I don't care if he has cool animations, great. If he has 42 badges, of course he's good. But get out of here. There's two other NBA players that do not count. Lance Stevenson doesn't count. Yes, he's a 76 overall. Yes, he's not a great NBA player anymore. But he used to be really good. So of course, like the used to be good players that have good things about them are going to stay intact even if they're playing bad. Like for example, if LeBron James next season averages 5 points and he drops to like a 75 overall, he still has all his animations and he's still going to have decent stats. So he's still going to be fun. So it doesn't really count. Last player I'm going to say doesn't count is Andre Drummond. He's that borderline. He's an 80 overall, so he's still pretty decent. He was already a good NBA player before, and he still has amazingly good stats in rebounding and post defense, so like, he doesn't count. Those are the people that don't count. Now I want to get this list started, but I want to tell you how I did it, because I didn't just pull this out of my butt, right? I grinded for this, boys. I tried. Let me tell you, this is how I figured out the 5 players that are good in 2K that are bad in the NBA. I played with every single NBA team. I'm not like exaggerating. I literally played with all 30 NBA teams with their starters and their bench, and I played a whole 12-minute quarter with every NBA team to find out what was a player that I was doing well with. And when I did this, when I played with all 30 NBA teams, I played on Hall of Fame difficulty, because all of you complain, you're like, oh my god, Pack, you're playing on rookie. I was like, bet. So I played on Hall of Fame just for you guys to see who really is good. And then I got all these players, right? And then I put them back into one massive team, and I played with all the players. I tried every single one of them on this exact same team, and I saw who were the 5 that I was dominating with, and that's how I made this list. But when I did that, I played on All-Star. Now you might be thinking I'm cheating, but I switched to All-Star because this is my mindset, right? I already did it with Hall of Fame, so I already knew they were successful in Hall of Fame. But an All-Star is different because you and me are almost always playing on All-Star. When you play in Park, when you play in Rec, when you play my team, when you play Now Online, when you play with your friends, I guarantee you 99% of the time people are playing on All-Star. It is the most fair, simple, the most common difficulty. So I played on All-Star because it's the fairest one and it's the most realistic one. So I used All-Star and I found 5 players that I thought were the most dominant out of all the players that I found. Now let's get this list started. At number 5, I am 100% confident all of you are going to agree with this one. On the Dallas Mavericks, Boban Marjanovic. Obviously. Now this is the only tall player I'm picking. I didn't want to pick Taco Fall because it's getting excessive. The reason why Boban was successful is obvious. He's 7'4". He's a 74 overall, but when you're 7'4" and stronger than everyone, you're gonna dominate. Listen, man, he can't shoot. He really has a bad midi too. but this dude can dunk under the basket like it's nothing. And because he has back down Punisher on bronze and a massive amount of weight, I literally just backed up anybody that tried to guard me. It didn't matter, and I just dunked on them. It was a free bucket every single time. It was free. Didn't matter if it was Hall of Fame. Didn't matter if it was All-Star. Didn't matter who was guarding me. It was free because he's just dominant. You can even do a couple post-ups here and there, even though his close shot isn't necessarily great, but you can, right? And you can even make a fadeaway if you really know how to time the shots. Boban was broken, and of course he has great post defense. You know, he could block shots and he could rebound. It just wasn't fair. It doesn't even matter that he was slow. And you could do so many dumb things. You could even throw lobs to him. He doesn't even have to catch it. He just tipped it up. Boban is broken. It's not even fair. But he's really only good at two things. And that's why he's at number 5. Because he's kind of just like a one-trick pony. And obviously, if you played against someone like Joel Embiid, it's not going to be as successful, right? This next one might come as a surprise. At number 4, I have Magic player Jalen Suggs. Now, this sophomore who's a 76 overall is kind of filthy. I'll tell you what specifically it was, but he is good in 2K. And you wouldn't think so because look at his attributes. 72 3-pointer, 69 midi, only a 70 close shot, 80 dunk isn't even that good, 75 layup. His defense is mediocre. There's nothing you could say about him besides maybe his ball handle and speed that's good. He's just okay at everything. But that's the thing. If you're skilled at 2K, if you practice the game and you know how to play the game, if you're decent at everything, you're a demigod. Because I can green consistently with a 72 3-point shot. I can green consistently with a 69 midi. I can dunk on people with an 80 dunk. I can break ankles with an 88 dribble. Like, I can do everything in this game. And when you have everything decent, I can dominate. And this is the thing. The animations this character has is broken. I just get open. You see over and over again. I just get an easy 3-pointer because I just made it happen. Because this character, even though it doesn't have high attributes or even good badges, it didn't matter because the animations were so clean. I just found a way. This character, this player is nasty and even can finish through contact with layups. I wasn't really getting any posters or dunks, but like still I could finish in the post. This player's fun, even though this team isn't necessarily great. It doesn't matter when Jalen Suggs is kind of nasty. Okay, at number 3, this player is so broken. It reminds me of someone specific. At number 3 is Donte DiVincenzo. Donte DiVincenzo is broken. And I was scared for a little bit because a roster day had just dropped and they had dropped his rating pretty hard from a 79 to a 77. So I was a little worried, but it didn't matter. He's still so broken. Let me explain why. He's a 77 overall. But his 3-point shot's a 78. Now you think 78's not even that high, but when you have a lot of shooting badges and the cleanest jump shot in this video game, you're gonna hit everything. And I was hitting everything contested, bro. It was crazy. I was greening every shot I shot with this man. It didn't matter who was guarding me. It was just cash. He's kind of like Klay Thompson because he could just hit every open shot or even semi-contested shot, and his defense was really, really good. I mean, Donte DiVincenzo was clamping up. His perimeter defense is an 82 with crazy amount of defensive badges. DiVincenzo is one of the most underrated players in 2K history. While I say he reminded me of someone, in terms of scoring, he reminds me of Kyle Korver back in other 2Ks, where like Kyle Korver never had a high rating, but you could just hit every shot with him. It's the same feeling I have with Donte DiVincenzo. I just didn't miss with him. It was like it was hard to miss with Donte. It's just you hit everything because he's so good at shooting. And on top of that, he's an amazing perimeter defender. It's not even fair. I have a feeling none of you were going to guess number 2, but he's so good. At number 2, PJ Washington on the Hornets. This Hornets team is fun to use. And it helps if you put PJ Washington as your center instead of Plumlee. Now, he's 6'7". He's not necessarily tall, but he is the definition of a stretch 5. He's an 84 3-point shot, which is broken when you're 6'7". He is fast for the center, right? So you play him at the center spot, and you have Miles Bridges on your team and LaMelo Ball to just lob it to you whenever you want. I mean, he has great dunk animations with really good dunking like badges as well. Like, I'm throwing lobs and he's catching everything. He's crazy good. And even though I think his offensive rebounding is really bad because he's so short, as long as his defensive rebounding was good, which it was, it didn't matter. His post defense wasn't even bad at his height. Like, honestly, he can do everything, even create his own 3-point shot as a 6'7" center is nasty. If you play 2K how you're supposed to, which is 5 really fast players that can all shoot and play defense, This Hornets team is nasty because PJ Washington makes it work. Underrated player. He can do everything. The definition of a good 2K player that's not necessarily amazing in real life. At number 1, by far, and I think you're not going to be surprised when you hear the name. Number 1, Derrick Jones Jr. on the Bulls. Absolutely. You're not going to be surprised when I really explain this to you. He's a 77 overall. He only has 7 badges, and it doesn't matter. Listen to me, bro. Derrick Jones Jr. can dunk anything he wants. It's not fair, bro. You drive and you can dunk it. You lob it to him and it's easy. He just dunks it on anybody. And on top of that, because the game understands that he's a dunker, the defense just sags off of him so hard, and he has a 79 3-pointer. And he has good animations, so he just shoots open threes like it's nothing. And his jump shot's not even that bad. It takes a little bit to time it and get used to it, but once you get used to it, you can hit anything. So they're giving me open threes. I can dunk on anybody, even if they guard me. And then the pick and rolls are disgusting because I can just lob it and it's easy. And I can pick and pop an easy threes. And on top of all of it, even though his defense isn't necessarily amazing, his blocks are disgusting. So when you play him at the 4, it's the most broken. It's Joe Green all over again. But as a big man, not as a shooting guard. It's crazy. He's crazy broken. The funnest player to use in this game. And he's a 77 overall. Not even fair. That's everyone, right? I want you to try these players out. When you're playing against your friends and you pull out a random player that they didn't expect to see, I want you to dominate with Derrick Jones Jr. or PJ Washington or Donte DiVincenzo, right? Try it out. Thank you guys for watching. If you like the channel, please give it a sub, and I'll see you guys next time.